I know, I'm spelling it incorrectly. Well, shit, let's try a name flip. Take out the O and add an A. Introductions, please. Mario, meet Superworm. Superworm, meet Tarantula. Wow, it's magic. You're watching Day or Night Exotics TV. I'm Dale the Knight, and this is Arclight, Brachypelma smithi, Mexican red knee, one of my favorite Brachypelmas, and definitely one of my favorite species, and this is why. This one in particular has always had a good feeding response, has a nice growth rate. Still think this one might be a male, but coloration on this one is absolutely gorgeous as he grows, and he has grown a little bit more rapidly than some of the ones I've seen in my friend's collection, and just in general, just has a little bit more of a rapid growth rate, and starting to get that mature male look to him, meaning he'll probably be mature male if he is in the next year or so, couple years. But for the time being, he has been awesome to raise. I haven't had any problems out of this guy at all. He's been a perfect tarantula to raise from a sling, and I got him teeny tiny, I think at a ½ inch a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, somewhere around in there. So he still has grown to do, whether he's a male or not. But at the same time, he always gets featured on these feeding vids because he always has a nice feeding response, and he doesn't shy away from the camera. As you can see, he's out in the open. Nothing bothers this guy. He's just always doing his thing. I can always count on him to feed. Whenever somebody wants to see one of my tarantulas eat, he's usually the one I go after because he is extremely hungry. And this is an awesome species, a species that I thought was underrated for a while until I got one, but definitely not underrated. So let's take a look at this tarantula 24 hours after it consumed its meal. And sometimes for beginners, they don't quite know what the tarantula should look like, how big they should get off the meal, and they might want to overfeed them. I thought it was really important this time to kind of show, if you're a beginner, what a tarantula might look like after they eat just one superworm, because a lot of people feed them crickets. I prefer superworms with them, especially at this size. This one's around 3.5 inches long, close to, I mean, it would be really close to 3.5 inches. So let's just say 3 inches. Tarantula like this, you see the rump. He or she wasn't incredibly hungry when I gave him this meal. So the rump is not as big as some of my other tarantulas, which might take one of these down once a month, sometimes up to 3 months. In the winter months, a good sized superworm, they might not eat for 3-4 months. A good example of that, let's stay with the brachy's, is my favorite brachy, which is the Brachypelma emilia, the Mexican painted redleg. And as you can see, I don't really feed her all that often because she will take down a couple of these superworms and that rump will get huge. I do not like my tarantulas obese. Crickets don't do quite as much for me as far as fatten them up. I don't like them too fat, but I don't like them too slender, and I don't want to go in and have to feed them every single week. So yeah, I feed my tarantulas about once a month, once every 2 months. With Brachypelmas and Grammostolas, sometimes I can, if the rump's big enough, it may be 3 months, especially if they're in pre-molt, that they will even take a meal. Some of my tarantulas won't even take them. So if you're a beginner, that's something for you to look out for. If you like crickets instead of superworms, I prefer superworms because they do fatten them up. You don't have to feed them as often. They get a little bit more for them, especially if you don't gut load your crickets. If you know what that means actually giving your crickets something to eat, giving them some liquids. If they're not gut loaded, that it's an empty meal. Your tarantula's not gonna get much out of it, and you're disturbing them more. That's just me. I personally do not really feed any of my tarantulas crickets unless they're like my OBT, which they hide all the time. It's just easier to put them in there and they'll come out and get them when they want to. But if they're out in the open like this, a terrestrial, I'm giving the crickets every time. Sometimes my pokies, I'll give them gut load some crickets and give them that. But with these terrestrials, straight up superworms. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Really good look at my bee smithi, and this one's growing like a weed. I really hope it's not a male, but if it is, I've had a lot of fun raising it. Definitely won't be the last one. You guys take care, and I'll see you next time.